Welcome to Your Legacy Stories podcast. Your host, Natalie McQueen, helps people from all walks of life to create, live, and preserve their legacy for future generations to enjoy. Natalie became a legacy designer after a near-death experience that made her completely reevaluate the legacy she was leaving in this world. She is also a book publisher who has guided over 500 authors to become international bestsellers. Natalie's mission is to help you craft the legacy you deserve, encourage you to live it to the fullest, and then preserve it for future generations to enjoy. On this show, her guests share moments of purpose, gratitude, wisdom and tradition, and of course, their legacy stories.
Well, hello, everyone. This is Natalie McQueen with Your Legacy Stories podcast. Today, we are celebrating veterans all week long, actually, and we have Miss Jennifer Miller. Hi, Jennifer.
Hello. Hi.
How are you?
I am fantastic. How are you doing?
Good, good. Well, thank you for joining us on Veterans Day. I would like you to introduce yourself first and share how you're making the world a better place now.
So my name is Jennifer Miller. I have a business called Magic Hour Studios where I do energy healing, metaphysical classes, spiritual life coaching. So I'm a certified life activation practitioner, healer, teacher in a really ancient lineage. And I'm also an empowerment photographer. So I combine those two areas. They're both light work, which I think is fascinating, to really help people get over all the things that blocks them. Oh my gosh, my phone is going crazy. I'm sorry. I help people get over all the obstacles that stop them from reaching their highest potential and their highest joy. So I help people get over imposter syndrome and self-doubt, and I help them foster self-love and self-worth and all that.
Nice. Very nice. Yeah, I know some of your work. I've seen you. We just heard you speak last Friday, and it was wonderful. So if you want to know more about that, I'm going to put all Jennifer's information in below. So please reach out to her because it's a wonderful thing to be able to release some of that stuff. And we're actually going to do a secondary interview coming up. And we're going to go deep into some offerings there. But today we want to thank you for your service, and we want to find out some of the stories. Share some of the stories. First of all, what intrigued you as a woman to go into the military? Was there a certain person or event that influenced that decision?
Yeah, I think some of my favorite movies were military-minded movies, and I don't know, Top Gun was my favorite movie. I wanted to be a fighter pilot when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I think if you ask me what my favorite movie is now, I'm still gonna say both Top Guns. I just love flight and all that. But I was told that I was too short, especially the sitting height was too short to ever be a pilot in any of the armed forces. And so I was like, okay. And so I went completely the other way and decided I was going to be an actress and was, doing that stuff. And I graduated high school and I was kind of floundering a little bit, just kind of ending up over here and over there, and couldn't make up my mind on what I wanted and where I was going. I knew I didn't want to go to college, at least not yet.
Yeah.
School was a struggle. I had undiagnosed ADHD at the time, and I realized that later, but at the time I was like, I can't suffer through another 4 years of that. So
Right.
I was like, what am I going to do? And then my car broke down. And then I saw a recruitment sign, and I was like, I've always been interested and intrigued by the military life. And so I went and talked to the Air Force recruiters, and I was a pretty tiny little thing back then, and they still wanted me to lose 20 pounds before they'd let me sign up. And
Are you serious?
Yeah. And I was like, what do you mean? I kept looking at myself going, lose it from where? I don't understand. And I didn't know how to do that. I was a really active kid even at 19. I was always running around doing stuff and hiking and
Right.
stuff. I'm like, I don't know how to lose weight. It's never entered my head, I
Right.
didn't do that. And so I walked over to the Air Force recruiter, and they'll be like, well, we need to watch you, so we're going to put you on a special diet for the last few weeks before you go to basic. And again, I was like, lose it from where? Like, I don't understand.
Did they do that to the men as well?
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, it's all, they still do.
I never heard of that.
They still tape you. So like if your weight isn't, within the BMI scale, that they'll still weigh and tape you. And like, okay, well, your numbers are fine. And so you're not actually as overweight as you seem by the BMI chart, right? And you're just always like, what is this? Like,
talk about welcome, welcome, and you're on a diet.
exactly. So I ended up joining October 10th, 1996, the U.S. Army as a mechanic. And I didn't leave until January 8th of just a few months later of 97, because I wanted to stay home for the holidays. And yeah, that's how that happened. There was always an intrigue there, but never I'm actually going to do it. And then I needed something.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I needed some kind of direction.
Mechanic.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a whole, did you know anything about that before going in?
Yeah, a little bit. So my dad always worked on our cars, and I never really helped him so much, but like I was still paying attention a little bit.
Sure.
And then my high school boyfriend and I dated all through high school. He had a Mustang, and we took it apart and put it back together, and I loved it.
Right.
And so when I was talking to my recruiter, I originally went in to be an MP because I was going to get out and be a cop. That was what my goal was. And then my recruiter was like, you scored way too high on your ASVAB to be a cop. You need to be doing something more important. And I was like,
oh,
what are you saying? Are you calling all the MPs idiots? Like, I don't understand.
right.
And then they're like, well, you work holidays and evenings and weekends and everybody is off and you have to work. And I was like, oh yeah, I don't want that.
Right.
And so I said, you know what? I just don't want to be at a desk. So let's find me a job where I'm not sitting at a desk, because I'll lose my mind. And then I was going through a little list of stuff. And I'm like, mechanic, that sounds fun, because I just spent, this couple of years taking apart my ex-boyfriend's Mustang and putting it back together. And I really enjoyed that. So, and I'm not at a desk and I'm outside a lot. So I'm like, yeah, let's do that.
Very cool. And you look like a girly girl. So I interviewed Shar, you know Shar, earlier, and the same thing. It's like when I hear those stories and picture you guys doing those positions, it doesn't seem like the person that I know now, right?
What's funny is that I was a hardcore tomboy.
That's what she said.
Yeah, up until just recently, last couple of years, I've actually been healing that I am not safe in my feminine, so I gotta embrace all the masculine side. Yeah. And I've been healing that. So no, I've always, up until the last few years, I've been like a pretty hardcore tomboy. Oh. Yeah, I drive a Jeep. Like my favorite things have always been like CrossFit and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I joined the Army as a mechanic, and like I have dirty and all that stuff, and getting dirt under my nails and whatnot. That's always been. So it's only been the last few years that I've been really exploring and developing and feeling safe in the feminine side of my existence. So yeah.
I mean, those male traits are very handy. Yeah. So, in your time, or with your time in the military, what were some of the things, or what taught you about courage, resilience, and purpose?
Oh gosh. So I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, so I was in the military for 3 years, and we were not at war during those 3 years. We weren't like getting deployed. 9/11 hadn't happened yet. I was in from January, well, technically from October of 96, but I didn't leave until January of 97 through the end of 99. So almost a full 3 years of active duty. And it was 90, I think I just said that, 97 and 99. So it was before 9/11 happened. And so we weren't deployed anywhere. I think there's, special groups going off to special things here and there, but there wasn't like any global war or anything like that. And I was in a unit that didn't really do a whole lot. And so there was a lot of idle time, and where people had a lot of time on their hands to do things that weren't super above board, so to speak.
Okay.
And so it can be kind of hard for me to talk about military service because people want to hear all the positive stuff. But I honestly had 3 years of a lot of not so great things happen to
Okay.
me. So, or around me. And so what I learned from that is to get a really solid team of people around you that you love and you trust and who can have your back for
Mm.
when things do go sideways. Because in life, you know, no matter how hard you try, no matter what group you get in, like there's things that are going to come in and, you know, disrupt things. So
Yeah.
I learned a lot about just being a better judge of character and making sure you have the right people around you. What was the other parts of that question?
Well, courage, resilience,
Yeah.
and purpose, you know?
So, like, courage came in the fact that sometimes you have to stand up to people who aren't doing the right thing. Sometimes you have to put yourself in the line of fire, so to speak, to say, hey, this is what is happening. This is what's going on, and it's not right, and people are being hurt by it.
Yeah.
And that happened. And I did get a lot of backlash from that, but people who were suffering under people not doing the right thing were no longer suffering.
Yeah.
And so sometimes our purpose isn't always bright and shiny and love and all that stuff. Sometimes it's you take the hit so that
Yeah.
for the betterment of all, you know.
Yep.
And so I learned that I can do hard things. And if you're right, even when you are right and you're in the right side of things, it can still be really hard, but you do it anyway. So
Yeah. So you mimic a little bit of what we were talking about earlier, is, you know, when you use courage to stand up and do the right thing, you also help people that maybe don't use their voices, and you help them, you
yeah.
know,
'Cause
to,
when I finally stood up and said something, 5 other women came up and said stuff too. So me coming out and leading the charge, so to speak,
yeah.
gave courage to 5 other women to come up and say, like, yeah, me too. That's been happening too. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you for doing that, because doing those hard things are, you know, it's probably one of those things that you really have to look deep and decide, you know, am I going to do this? Am I not going to do this? Should I keep quiet, or do I need to stand up for what I believe in and make a shift, a change for others as well?
Yeah.
So what part of your legacy do you most hope you will be remembered by your family and community?
The legacy I want to leave is kind of ties into the same thing we were just talking about, where is we do the hard things in love, in the hope of spreading love and unity, but like sometimes like it's when we stand up to things that are not right, it can dishevel things for a while, but
Sure.
you do it anyway. So what I want most for people to do is just to do the right thing. I want people to be in integrity. I want to leave a legacy of, yes, it's scary, and yes, it's hard, and yes, I might get some flack for it, but it's the right thing, so do it anyway. And I've been taking this, we've been talking about this a lot lately, so it's really funny that this is what's coming up in today's interview. And that is like with, you know, politics and all that kind of stuff, like we have to do the right thing even if it's uncomfortable, and we have to stand ground and saying, like, we have to come together and we have to be in unity and we have to be in love. And if we don't ever do that, it's never going to get better. So that my legacy would be is just be what you say you want the world to be the example, show the way of what if you I think Gandhi said, be the change you wish to see in the world.
Yeah.
So
And I see that in you. I definitely, you know, you come across so authentic and share, you know, the trials and things that you have gone through, and then literally stepped in and trained so you can help others through it as well. And you're helping person by person to be their best selves.
Thank you.
And yeah, so thank you. So I want to ask you a legacy question now.
Mhm.
So what was one of your favorite traditions in your family, like growing up? Did you have some traditions or something that your family did that was special?
Yeah, one of the memories that keeps popping up lately is my parents really love John Denver and they love the Moody Blues. And so they would crank that music in our teeny tiny living room. And the three kids, I have a brother and a sister, and all three of us would run around in a circle and kind of dance in a circle. And the parents would be like on the chairs or,
Yeah.
and clapping along and stomping their feet. And we just run around in circles and dance. Like, I don't know if that's necessarily a tradition, but like,
Absolutely. It's a
yeah.
celebration. It's something that your family did that, will always bring joy when you think about it. So
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Music was a big one for our family as well.
Mhm.
Both listening to music like you said, but then they played guitars and banjos and you name it, harps and stuff. And so when our family got together, they'd all pull out their guitars and just sing songs and I literally, this is hilarious. I literally thought that Neil Diamond was my uncle because when Hot August Nights came out, my dad's friend would come over and they would sing all the songs. I was like probably 5 or 6. And so I just associated this guy and said, oh, well, Neil Diamond's coming over for dinner tonight. So that's
That's
awesome.
great. I love it.
So, do you still, well, I think most people love music, but is it still a special spot for you? And do you have a certain genre that you love?
My music taste is so eclectic. I have 3 songs from this one and 5 songs from this one and a whole album from this one or their entire, discography from this one. But like it's all over the place. I started learning Spanish in 2014 when I went back to college, and so a lot of my music is Latin music or
Oh,
from Spain
wow.
or Latin America.
Yeah.
And even that the genres are different. Like some of it's like more hip hop, dancey stuff because I really love Zumba too. So like
Yeah.
it plays into that. And then some of it's just love, love songs and the sad ones and the sappy ones and all that. And everywhere in between. And I will still plug in like John Denver every once in a while when I'm feeling nostalgic, and I'll still throw on Moody Blues. That there's a couple songs that are on my
Neil
playlist.
Diamond. I know every word to every song in Hot August Nights. It was just ingrained, right?
Yeah.
That's
But if I
awesome.
had to pick a favorite artist now, gosh, I really love Melody Gardot and I really love Emily Sandé. Those are
Ooh, I'll
my
have to
2
look that
favorites.
up.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, last question.
Cool.
So, what is something on your legacy list, which means it could be an experience, it could be something you want to do, or something you want to be remembered for? What is something that you haven't achieved that you still want to do?
Oh, that is a good question. What do I still Well, like a bucket list item, I still wanna go skydiving.
Okay, hey, I'm in. Let's do it.
Yeah. I'm 47. I told myself I was gonna do it on my 40th birthday, and then it came and went and didn't do it. And I said, "Okay, 45."
All right.
And I still haven't done it.
All right. I'm your partner.
Let's do it.
I've been dying to do it.
Yeah.
My list.
I wanna write a book. I think that's to I mean, if you were to ask me in a year from now these same questions, I might have different answers. So we're all hopefully growing and evolving.
Right.
And when we learn better, we do better. And when we learn more, all that kind of stuff, right? So it's hard. I mean, it's hard to like write a book and then uh that might not be where you end up 5 years later. But like I still want to write a book about just my journey in general and how I got to be, and then leaving those things that I've been learning about just we need to love each other more. So, and then
So what I've found in interviewing people and getting to know people, all over the world, I've had the pleasure to work with different authors from like South Africa and Australia and New Zealand. And what I find is we may think that we're different in certain ways, but once you get to know each other, we are so much more alike than we are different as people.
yeah,
And if we all embrace that and just celebrate our differences and get to know and not be scared of those differences, I think the world would be a better place.
Yeah. And just coming together and realizing that we're so many different people all blended into one. We're never going to agree on everything.
Right.
So it's reaching that hand across the aisle and be like, okay, where can we meet in common ground and work on and compromises for these other things, and that's not where people are right now. People want to be divisive and fight and point fingers and blame and create division, and that pendulum is just going to keep swinging from one extreme to the other extreme to the other extreme to the other extreme, and until we start coming together and bring that ball in the middle, it's just going to be rough. So
Yeah. Well, hopefully it's coming soon.
that's what my mission is to bring it
Yeah,
together.
exactly. Well, thank you so much, Jennifer. Thank you for your service. Thank you for sharing some of your stories. And I will be putting all your information so people can reach out to you and follow you. And, I really encourage people, we all have things that stop us from being our best selves. And sometimes we don't know what's, there.
Yeah,
Because it's been there for so long, you just
Yeah.
are attached.
Yeah.
Sometimes just being able to work with someone like Jennifer that can help you release and detach or let go or forgive yourself.
Yeah.
Can make all the difference for the rest of your journey on the planet and beyond.
And there's a teaching that we have, as within, so without. So to make the world without a better place, we need to start from within and heal this.
Yeah.
And
So
then that's a huge, that's literally what I do, is help the within so that the without becomes better. So
love it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jennifer. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Your Legacy Story Podcast. If you would like to share your legacy story with Natalie or get your legacy book started, please reach out at giftsoflegacy@gmail.com. Be sure to add My Legacy Stories in the subject line. We would love to help you share your legacy message out to the world. Natalie would like to invite you to join our private Facebook group, Create Your Legacy Life. She shares tips on book publishing, ways to create and leave your legacy, and she interviews the most amazing legacy creators, sharing their moments of purpose, gratitude, wisdom, and tradition, and of course, their legacy stories. See you next week.